To me, week two is about as important as you can get in an NFL season because, as I've mentioned before in previous videos, you can either start off the season 2-0, you can rebound from an early season loss and get to 1-1 and get back to even. You can start off 1-0 and then lose and be right back where you were basically before, even Steven at 1-1. Or if you lose your first game and you find a way to lose your second game, you're staring at a very big deficit starting off 0-2. Doesn't mean you still can't be successful, but you make things much more difficult on yourself. So in a lot of ways, with all the pub and hubbub and excitement that is generated by the first week of the 2013 NFL season, to me, you start to figure things out a little bit more with the second week of the 2013 NFL season, and really with any NFL season in general. And again, you had some big storylines for this week. You had the Manning Bowl, which was primarily, really, frankly, a toilet bowl, especially if you watched the game. You could clearly tell the difference between the two teams. One is a legit contender in their conference to go to the Super Bowl in the Denver Broncos, and the other, the New York Giants, look like they're going to be a maddeningly inconsistent and frustrating team to watch all year. So while the media was all paying attention to this and all focused on this, it didn't really deliver. However, you did have some games that really did deliver with last-second victories or overtime victories. You had San Diego beating the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia in the last few seconds of the game. Chip Kelly needs to learn how to better manage the game in late-time situations. You need to not give the other team any more time late in the game than you absolutely have to, and it ended up biting him in the butt. You look at E.J. Manuel, the rookie quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, leading his team from behind to victory in the last few seconds of the game against the Carolina Panthers at home. What an impressive way for the rookie to start, almost beating the New England Patriots week one, and then coming from behind and leading his team to victory over Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. You had the Tennessee Titans fold up shop really late and end up losing the game in overtime to the Houston Texans for about 3.5 quarters, though it really looked like the Houston Texans were the inferior team to the Tennessee Titans. And then, of course, my Chicago Bears, for the second week in a row, they had Cutler clutch up a little bit when it mattered, and the Bears found a way to win a game late. You don't always want to live by that sword because eventually you might die by that sword, but it's nice to know that a team has the capability to win late, and it does provide for some exciting football to watch. Another game that wasn't very exciting to watch, unless you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, was the Sunday night matchup. The Seattle Seahawks dominated the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers realized that they weren't playing the Green Bay Packers defense. They got embarrassed, they got destroyed, they got out-physicaled, out-hustled, out-muscled, both on the offensive and defensive side of the footballs. Seattle was very impressive, very dominant. Didn't make for a great game to watch, just like the Manning Bowl wasn't a great game to watch, but those were some of the big stories for this week two of the 2013 NFL season. Now I'm going to talk about some teams that have gotten off to some really good starts, all of them at 2-0, and talk about some teams that are in trouble that are at 0-2 right now. Let's focus first on the teams that have gotten off to great starts for this 2013 season. You got to go to the Denver Broncos. They're 2-0. They've had 2 blowout victories, and when you look at their offense, this offense looks like it could be a real legitimate threat to set the season record for the most points by a team. That's how good this offense looks. 2 games, 40-plus points in each game. That's pretty scary. And they're winning games without Von Miller. The Broncos' defense is not elite, and it's definitely not great without Von Miller, but they're finding ways to win, and they're still winning convincingly. The Seattle Seahawks, all you need to know to tell the story of this team right now is that in 2 games, they've allowed 10 points to the opposing team. 10 points in 2 games. That's why they're 2-0, and that's why they're a real legit Super Bowl contender. The Chicago Bears might sound like a homer pick, but the bottom line is they're 2-0. They've beaten 2 playoff teams from last year at home in late dramatic fashion. Cutler hasn't been great throughout the game, but he has shown an ability, which he hasn't in previous years, to clutch up and play well late when it matters. The Bears look like they have at least another element on offense in the passing game in Martellus Bennett. They still only have Brandon Marshall and Forte, and that's it. They have nothing else to throw to. But Bennett provides a third option in that passing game that Chicago's really needed. And when you look at the Bears' schedule right now, their next 5 games, they're at Pittsburgh, they're at Detroit, then they're home against New Orleans and the Giants and at Washington. This is a team right now that could potentially have the ability to go 7-0 heading into their bye week, where they would go week 9 on the road to the Green Bay Packers. Things are looking good for the Bears. They're also looking good for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 2-0 right now. They've equaled their win total from last year. That's a great start, period. Andy Reid has definitely had a positive impact on that organization. The New Orleans Saints, not only are they 2-0 right now, but they're 2-0 in the division and they're winning close games. That's a great start for Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and that entire organization. And then the Miami Dolphins. Again, another team that's not only 2-0, but even more impressively is 2-0 on the road with a young quarterback leading the way. If you want to make the playoffs, you have to win games on the road. The Miami Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen, are a legit threat right now to the New England Patriots in that AFC East. Make no mistake about it. We've talked about some of the teams that got off to great 2-0 starts for this 2013 season. Let's look at some of the teams that are in trouble that have started off 0-2. The New York Giants. They have no running game to speak of. Looks like their offense is going to turn the ball over a ton, and their defense really can't stop anybody. Not good. The Carolina Panthers. Not only are they 0-2, they found ways to lose 2 games that they had chances to win, especially the Bills game, but they also could have beat the Seahawks. When you're a team that wants to make the playoffs and win a division and make an impact, you have to find ways to win games that you should have lost, not lose games you should have won. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they have nothing on offense right now. I told you in my preview video for this team this year that I didn't have a good vibe about them. I thought they were going to finish last in this division. And then through the first 2 weeks of the season, they have done nothing to prove me wrong at this point. Not a good team so far. The Washington Redskins, they have nothing on defense. Yes, RG3's looked a little shaky so far, especially in week 1, but they can't stop anybody. Now they're playing a tougher schedule this year because they won the division last year. I told you in my preview video the Redskins were going to come crashing back down to earth, and I felt maybe finish last in that NFC East, and so far they've looked like it. They got steamrolled by the Packers, to put it mildly. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are kind of similar to the Carolina Panthers in that there are 2 matchups against the Jets and then against the Saints. They found ways to lose games that they should have won. And when you're a good team and you're trying to make the playoffs, you need to win games that you should win, but also find ways to win games you maybe should have lost, not lose games you should have won. Not good for Greg Schiano in Tampa Bay right now, especially with Freeman not playing very well either. It could get very ugly down there in Tampa very soon, as I talked about in my preview video about this team. And then the Minnesota Vikings, looking at the NFC North. Not only is this a team that's 0-2 right now, but even more importantly for them, they're 0-2 in the division, losing both to Detroit and then the Chicago Bears this past Sunday. Now the Bears are 2-0. The Minnesota Vikings are 0-2. For all intents and purposes, the Vikings aren't just behind by 2 games. Really, because of tiebreakers, you could look at it like they're behind 2.5 or even 3 games in the division already 2 weeks into the year. To win a division, to ensure yourself a playoff spot, the easiest way to do that is what? Ladies and gentlemen, win the division. The easiest way to win your division is do what? Win division games. The Vikings are already 0-2 out of the gate to start the year. Not the way you wanted to go about doing things, especially for a team in the Vikings that made the playoffs last year. It's going to get ugly potentially in Minnesota very quickly. Ponder has not looked great through 2 weeks. And if you're going to start having a quarterback controversy where the alternative to Christian Ponder is Matt Castle, yeah. To me, there are 3 games that stand out to me on the Week 3 docket that you should be paying attention to. One, of course, is the Thursday night game, the Andy Reid Bowl, where Andy Reid takes his Kansas City Chiefs back to Philadelphia, to the place where he was coach for 14 years to play the Eagles. That's going to be a matchup with a lot of intrigue, a lot of side stories, a lot of side dramas. And it could be a very interesting football game at the same time. So not only will there be a lot of storyline going into it to get you interested, but the game itself and the quality of play might keep you interested. You look at a matchup of 0-2 teams where one of these teams has a chance to really right their ships and potentially save their season already in Week 3. The New York Giants, travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. If you're the Giants or you're the Panthers, you don't want to start off 0-3. You really don't. In particular, in the case of the Panthers, the Saints are already 2-0 out of the gate. And the Falcons are there at 1-1. You do not want to fall 2 games potentially behind the Falcons and 3 behind the Saints potentially. If you do that, you have no chance really of winning the division, and your chances of being a wild card team dissipate week by week. And for the Giants, they need to come out week 3 and establish that they can run the ball, that they can stop somebody defensively, that they can take care of the football and not turn it over a bunch. Otherwise, again, they could start off 0-3 and their season's pretty much kaputskis. The other interesting matchup that's kind of off the radar a little bit, I think, is a matchup of the top 2 quarterbacks drafted in the 2013 NFL Draft. That's E.J. Manuel and Geno Smith. I think this is a very interesting matchup. The Bills traveling to New York to take on the Jets. Both teams are 1-1. E.J. Manuel has been a little more impressive than Geno Smith so far. But you know what? These are 2 young rookie quarterbacks that have been given the helm of their teams, that have been put in that leadership position, and they haven't been terrible. I think E.J. Manuel, again, has been better than Geno Smith, but Geno's done his part to try and keep the Jets in games and, had them in a position almost to beat the Patriots in week 2. I'm going to be curious to see how these 2 guys play head-to-head. These are 2 quarterbacks that a lot of people heading into this past draft had a lot to say about, especially in a negative sense, did a lot to dismiss what they had done in college and dismiss their skill sets. I'd be curious to see how these 2 guys perform when they're going head-to-head against each other. Maybe there's going to be a little rivalry here. They play each other twice a year. Manuel was drafted ahead of Geno Smith. Maybe Geno's got a chip on his shoulder. Maybe Manuel's trying to prove that he should have been the number 1 quarterback taken in this year's draft. I actually am looking forward to this game, and I plan on watching it. And I hope it's good, because it's got some intrigue there for me. So you've got some good stuff to look forward to in week 3. And now as we really get into motion with this NFL season, you're going to see if these teams that had these great starts are able to continue that momentum along and really have a good year. And you're going to be able to see whether these teams in trouble, some of them are able to right the ship. It's only 2 weeks in. There's still that chance. There's still that possibility that somebody could really right that ship and, get back on the winning track. So a lot to look forward to starting with week number 3.